we bring you the top tips to making the most of a 2-parks, 1-day visit to Universal Orlando. This is episode 499 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to a penultimate show.
It's not the last. It's not the second from last one ever.
Hey! You don't exist yet.
I know, but Roidsy will be cacking himself that you've said penultimate, and he'll be thinking, "Oh my god, there's only one more after this."
That's it. We're ending the show. That very intrusive rude voice you just heard was my co-host Lee Malaby.
Hello, everyone.
We do not have Tracy today. We do not have Michelle today.
Yes.
But making up for that, yes, we're very sorry for that. But making up for that slot, we have a special guest, a Producers Club member, Katie Mcneill. Hey, Katie.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be included today. I can't even tell you. It's really a thrill.
Cool, yeah. We put the call out for someone to replace. We didn't know Tracy wasn't going to be here. Originally, we're just replacing Michelle. Now you've got 2 big sets of boots to fill.
Oh, boy. No way.
I heard something else. I didn't hear boots.
Christopher.
I just tell you what I hear. That's all.
I know, but you can't say that.
I didn't say anything. You did.
Oh,
I didn't say it either. Wow.
All right. Yes. Well, let's move along from that. And so continuing on from the fact that we aren't updating our complete guide this year, this week we're going to be focusing on getting the most from your trip. Specifically getting the most from a 1-day trip, tackling both parks, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida.
To be fair, right, I think a lot of the tips in this, yes, they'll help for if you only have 1 day and you're trying to get as much done as possible, but I think a lot of these tips will help people just going in general, to be honest.
Yeah, people, well, I know like people will write to us a lot of times that they get, value even after repeating the same old tip, but you didn't care about it at one point, and now you're going on a trip and you care about all of them.
Exactly.
So. Now, we've also enlisted the help of the Producers Club, and we'll be adding our thoughts in too to help you get the most out of a trip to both parks in 1 day.
Who does that, by the way? Because I don't.
Psychopaths.
I've done it once.
Really?
I've tried it once. Yeah. But well, I'll talk about it later, but in the slower season, I was able to do it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we
we do it, but we don't actually do a full park. Like, it's just kind of jumping around.
Like, I know I set Jillian the task of doing, I'm trying to remember if it was all rides in both parks. I think I gave her all attractions that weren't sit-down attractions in 1 day, and I'm sure she did it.
Oh.
Jillian, remind me. I'm sure, because I gave her like I gave a $25 Universal gift card to anyone who could do it, and someone else tried it and got through like 3, and then Jillian was like, "Oh yeah, I did it, no problem."
Sounds like
I didn't get on everything, that's for sure, but I did a good whatever I wanted to do in both parks. I was able to do it in one day.
Yeah, cool. All right, we will begin with Heather Vale's tips. Especially if you are going with a family, look at the cost of the express passes versus the cost for a room at the Hard Rock, Royal Pacific, or Portofino. It has made more financial sense for us more often than not to get a room for a night than purchasing multiple express passes. Plus, we get the added benefit of early entry, being able to walk to the park, getting our own security checkpoint so we don't have to go through the madness near the parking garages, and or water taxis have the same benefit if you don't want to walk the extra walk.
So in one tip there, Heather's got about 6 in.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, I mean, I know we looked back, one of the first episodes Tracy and I did of this podcast was looking at how much a family of 4 would get for, how much it would cost for unlimited express passes versus a night at one of those top tier hotels. And at the time, the unlimited express passes, it would have cost a family of 4 for 2 days, because you get 2 days staying on the hotels, was something like $1,000 compared to like a $300 night at the hotel, and it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, I honestly hate talking about this because I feel like Universal's going to pull it one day, but
I feel the same way, Chris.
It's such value. It's such a value.
It is.
That it's yeah. I hope they're not listening right now.
When you look at the value that Disney have taken away from their hotels now, and that Universal still offers something that is so good value. Please don't.
I think we're seeing it in the crowds now. I think people are coming over in droves
because they're getting away from Disney and going, let's go and have a look what Universal have to offer, which it worries me, because a Universal going to take advantage of that, of realizing that people are swarming over from Disney and go, wait, we can start nickel and diming people now. And I hope not.
I don't see that happening. I feel like they've played their cards the way they've played them on purpose, right?
Universal or Disney?
Universal. In kind of, response to Disney.
Yeah.
You see that from the social media, like their Twitter is obviously amazing, right?
It is.
They'll take any jab that they can.
Oh, yes.
But, I think they kind of play into that. Obviously they're still, raking in, cash, like nobody's business. So I don't think we're going to see that change over. Plus, we don't have Bob Paycheck as our CEO. So,
and also thinking about it, they don't want to change it. If they are going to change it for that, if they are going to monetize the fact that people are coming over, they want to wait at least a couple of years, because they want to make sure that the people that are coming over stay over. They don't want to suddenly have these people coming over and then within 3 months start upping the prices of everything, which, to be fair, we did talk about it last week with the annual passes going up. But they're those people who are suddenly realizing what Universal have to offer, and then suddenly everything goes up and they're like, oh, well, this wasn't what I thought it was, and go back to Disney.
Yeah.
The only thing that really, we talk about it later, but the only thing that really concerned me, in these recent months, are the on-site hotel room prices have been higher than I've ever seen them.
Yes.
When I look for my trips, and I wonder, is that part of that? Is that part of, well, we're getting this crew that's used to paying a lot more for their rooms? They're really, really expensive.
This is where we need Michelle. Michelle is the person that should be here now, because she will know that for better than any of us, that's for sure.
I don't know who you're complaining to. She's not going to listen to this. So.
Oh, I know she won't, but this is what I'm saying. She should have been here because this is perfect. This is exactly in her wheelhouse as a travel agent.
Yeah, I think it still has leftover lingering pandemic travel vibes.
Pent up demand. And
yes.
Right? Because people weren't traveling as much before.
Right.
So I think and it could be counterintuitive, but I think as people start to travel outside of just a drivable distance to the parks, you'll see that alleviation on hotel rooms and stuff. But then again, that same mindset goes and says, well, now you're going to have all your foreigners coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those giant Brazilian tour groups, all the UK folk coming over, all these people will add to that. So, we'll see how it plays out. But I do agree with you where it used to be a lot easier to book a pass holder room at a great price. I haven't checked recently, but last time I did, it was much more difficult.
Michelle will be like, if you have a travel agent, it's much easier. I'll do it for you. Michelle, I know you're not here. I've got your back, girl.
Yeah, I think also people, not only the drivable distance, but people staying within the country because of, difficulty with needing tests to get back in and things like that. I think that has added to it as well.
For definite.
So people are staying within the United States as they're not traveling outside the United States. Yeah. So they're hitting parks and things like that. I hope.
I don't think you're going to see the true test of it is going to be in a year or so, when things are when people have got that, like you said, that pent up need to travel out of the system a little bit. So we shall see.
I hope so.
Yeah, so do I. I still need to book hotels for November, so
yeah. Heather goes on to say, if you're staying on property and can pretty easily get back to the room if you need to, so like let's say you got to change clothes, if you go on bilge rat barges, grab a snack, yada yada, and you can avoid taking a large bag, then go into the parks as light as you can. If you can find shorts with a pocket that zips and just carry your ID, cash, or card, you need to buy things, sunglasses, and a cell phone, then do that. Cargo pants and shorts are phenomenal in that part.
That is a really good tip.
Yes. It makes going through security much easier. And for Men in Black or other rides where you don't have to go through a metal detector, You don't have to worry about the extra stop at the lockers and don't have to worry about things falling out of your pockets. If you do use a locker, don't feel rushed by the crowd and make sure you have everything out of the locker before you close it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Not having a locker, and like not having to have a locker because of carrying a backpack around with it is a huge time saver.
Well, I will add to that and say, if you are going to carry a bag, I typically always have my bag with me over there, but I don't use a regular backpack. I use a drawstring bag.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's a lot easier to use the lockers because it bends and molds
Yes.
however I want. So I never have to pay for that giant locker.
Yeah.
You know, me and Alexa will just get 2 lockers if I have to take some stuff out of it and kind of put into the other one, as opposed to if you have one of those larger bags that doesn't fit into a small locker, you're stuck either somebody holding your bag outside or having to pay that cost every single time you ride a ride.
Right.
But it's not just that as well, is it? It's obviously the fact of having to go into those lockers. Like, you think how much time you could spend just putting in and taking out a bag at, say, the Gringotts lockers, for example. You could spend 5 or 10 minutes.
Worst.
Just, it's a nightmare. And not having to do that would save you. Think if you're saving 5 minutes at every attraction, not having to put stuff in a locker, it would work out quite a lot over the course of a day.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. And I wanted to say that Heather points out, if you do need to use a locker, don't feel rushed. Don't feel like panicked and forget something. Just take your time, open, and it looks like, oh no, there's no lockers, but people are getting their stuff out of them as well as putting stuff in. So you'll get one, and just try to remain calm, because that crowd can be, especially in Gringotts, can be pretty daunting.
Impatient.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm that. Tracy will be testament to me losing my temper in the mummy lockers, actually, when we were over before. I kind of bit her head off. Sorry, I know you're not here, but I do apologize to you. It wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, I now that you mentioned that, Katie, it's funny because one of the times that we went, we were doing, I think it was the Mummy, and I had one of like the really low lockers.
Mm.
So I'm all the way kind of kneeled down, putting my stuff in there, and Alexa's like next to me, but not right behind me. And I'm right by the area where you have to scan in order to open it. So it'd be very difficult for somebody to just kind of jump over me to like go and do that. But no, somebody managed to like do that. And they simultaneously did it at the same time that I was coming up.
Oh, no.
And that locker door opens. And let's just say I was not very happy the rest of the day. I was so upset. And I'm not a person to like confront and do anything like that. So I'm not going to like chew the head off of the other person. I was pretty and also like a banger of a headache that day. It was terrible. And I'm just like, why are you so impatient? Just wait 10 more seconds and I will be out of here,
That's right. Yeah.
You got to be careful. So look up.
Yeah.
That's a pro tip. Look up.
Just be aware of your surroundings, I suppose, is quite a tip, really.
Yeah, it's really good. Well, now let's see. John Gregory brings us these tips. And his first one is always rope drop. That first hour, especially for early park admission, is crucial to maximizing your day.
Right. So just to jump in there, Katie, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to jump back on what Seth said on Little Things last week. But Seth said, didn't he, on last week's Little Things, that he got there half an hour before Islands of Adventure opened. And by the time general park admission, what did he say? He'd done Gringotts.
Well, he finished what is it? Hagrid's
just after 8.
Just after 8, and did everything else in
so Forbidden Journey.
Yep.
Flight of the Hippogriff. Didn't he say he'd done Velocicoaster as well? It was only an hour ago.
I don't think so. I think he mentioned everything inside of the Wizarding World.
By
before 9.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Including Hagrid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, he got in, they let him in at 7:45. And by 1 minute past 8, he was stepping out of the queue, having been on it.
And it was also up to an hour and a half, I think it was. So.
Sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
No, not at all. So it's a great tip. Don't prioritize just based on popularity or your own preferences. Once you know what you want to experience, what comes first should be based more on what's going to save the most time rather than what you personally want to ride first. Sometimes those align, like Hagrid's, always a long wait and better to get it early, and sometimes they don't. Like if Minion Mayhem is on your to-do list and USF has early park admission, I'd do that before Gringotts because Minion Mayhem is lower capacity.
I mean, to be fair, just sack Minion Mayhem off altogether.
Yeah.
If that's on your must-do
Take
list,
it right
then
off
you've
your
got
list.
kids.
Could be on Andy's must-do. You never know.
Andy, I never said anything. That was all
He has
Chris.
a baby now. He has a baby.
Oh, that is very true.
So the baby wants to ride Minion.
Don't do shows early in the day. Save those for later when your legs need a rest and other lines have built up.
Good point.
Yeah, that is good.
Actually, I think
Take
Shaw's is a
advantage
funny
of-
one, isn't it? Because Shaw's, I would tend to, unless you're absolutely desperate to see something, if I was trying to tackle both parks in one day, Shaw's is something I would personally leave out because they do
I
eat
think
a
the
lot
one
of
exception
time.
is Bourne.
Yeah, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's such a unique show that I would, I mean, knowing what I know now of the park and how everything is, I would probably say if you can squeeze that in, do that
I think it comes
in a one day.
Yeah, it comes down to how many times you've been to Universal Orlando before. If this is your first visit, which, I mean, to be fair, you shouldn't be doing both parks in one day, but it might be a case of that's all you've got and you want to go and do it, then it's different for someone who's been half a dozen times, who's like, yeah, I want to do Bomb, but I've done it before. I'd rather prioritize that half an hour, 40 minutes to do other things.
Yeah.
You've got to sort of make your decisions on what you want to do based off whether you've been before or not, if that makes sense.
But I agree that if you only have time for one show, it's tremendous. You haven't seen it yet, Lee, right? It wasn't there when you were there.
No,
right?
I am desperate to see it. It looks, for everything we know and have seen about it, it looks amazing.
It's really nothing like I've ever seen before. It's really terrific. But take advantage of single rider lines. If being physically separated from your group is going to save 20 minutes or more, do it. Are you really looking at your friend when you're on the ride anyway? No, you're not. But don't always assume the single rider queue will be a breeze either. Hagrid's and Velocicoaster tend to move slow because the 2 per row seating reduces the need for single rider.
Hagrid's is a strange one because so our last day of the weekend, we bumped into Claire Goodwin going over to Hagrid's. So we all jumped in line, and then literally just where the single rider line opens, it was closed, but then they opened it, so we jumped in there. So what should have been an hour, we were 20 minutes because Claire had a handful of grapes and a drink, and she's like shoving grapes in us, trying to like, I need someone to help me eat these grapes because we're going to be on it in like 10 minutes. And we went from, like I said, we should have been queuing for about an hour to doing single rider, and we were on it in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. It just depends how it works. Single rider is a strange one, isn't it? Because it comes down to what groups are in the normal line, and sometimes you'll hit it right where it's the groups of 3, or you just won't, and you could be there for ages.
Yeah. Also, I want to say, rest your legs and 2 park one day is an oxymoron. So don't even think you're going to get legs rested that day. Just
That's
true.
a great one.
throw it out. Just throw it out. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. You don't have time to rest.
You need to
Yeah,
get with some of
exactly.
those leg vibrators that Michelle has.
It's very optimistic. Maybe wear that on Velocicoaster, those leg relaxers.
Oh my gosh. Don't get coffee in the park. Do it at the hotel. The Starbucks lines will always be shorter there, and you'll be wasting very valuable time right before or after rope drop.
That's a really
Absolutely.
good tip. Yeah. Or even just grab like your breakfast while going from your hotel to the parks.
That's always a definite option. Eat
Breakfast
it
Do
on
it
the
on the
bus.
go.
On the bus, yes, a sandwich, we know.
Right? Yeah. Make sure you're prepared for the water rides in Islands of Adventure. Having to return to the hotel because your shoes are waterlogged from Dudley's and or Popeye can kill an hour or more. So it's really bad. If they're on your itinerary, just bring a disposable poncho to keep yourself from getting absolutely drenched.
I would go as far as to say again, if you're trying to kill 2 parks in one day, water rides are not going to be your friend.
Right?
Yeah, gotta agree with you on that.
Maybe
too.
you'd get away with Jurassic Park because I think you can get on that and get away with a kind of light spritzing. But if you're not wanting to get soaked, then Popeye and Dudley are definitely not going to be friends for you for that day. Especially if
And
you're going to be on your feet all day.
And I mean, even from an overall ride perspective too, right? Like, I love Popeyes, but it's mainly a, river or what do you call it? Like a whitewater rapids experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dudley Do Right is like, just a log flume experience where I feel like Jurassic Park kind of gives you a little bit more of a thematic ride experience, and then with a nice drop at the end.
Yeah, it's more like Splash Mountain, isn't it? Like that Splash Mountain's kind of that same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have to include one water ride, I would agree with you on that. Jurassic Park would probably be it.
Yeah. Yeah. For definite.
I'll just say about the river adventure. When I went on that, I had no idea. And I thought, oh, look, there's a little dinosaur over here. I thought it was like the Jungle Cruise going through. Isn't this nice? This is great.
Look, the backside of a dinosaur.
Oh, no. We start going up this hill, and I'm like, what's happened? What's going on? Oh, I was not prepared for that.
You're just heading to the backside of water.
Must come down, yes.
And boy, oh boy, wow. That was a huge drop.
Yes. Moving on. Our good friend Kelly Wood says, well, before your trip is a good one, start getting prepared to be on your feet all day. As we've already said, this can really make or break your trip. I've done a full park, open to park, closed days where I've walked upwards of 10 miles or more in one day. I have a smartwatch this year. I'm looking forward to bringing it over and see how much through a full day plus Halloween Horror Nights, how many steps I get through. Even if you don't walk that far, chances are you'll be standing way more than you typically do in a day. So getting your body ready for that will pay off on your trip and give you the stamina to keep going all day. This goes for footwear too. Do not wear new shoes or supportive shoes for days like this. If you're truly trying to get the most out of your trip, go for function over form. And when it comes to your outfit, nobody cares what you're wearing. And also, you'll never see any of those people again, minus your traveling party. I mean, that is a really good, just taking care of your feet is a massive thing. The first time Tracy and I ever came over to Orlando, we were not prepared for it. And I had more blisters on my feet at the end of that first week than I have ever had in my entire life.
Oh, yeah. That's super important.
It's really, really important.
It is. It's tough on your feet. And I've realized the older I get, if you'd have been at the Weekender, it was just all of us complaining, either our feet and our backs. It was like the geriatrics day out.
In our defense, though, okay, we were running everywhere.
Yeah, but Chris,
we had to prepare for things.
Chris, that's just an average Malaby family trip, though, to be fair.
Dude, honestly, I've been to the parks 4 years since I was a kid, and that trip was one of the worst on my feet I've ever been. Like, my feet were just like shredded, tenderized meat.
Our poor kids, the first time we took them, Jade was 5, Rim was 10, and that's our tempo. It's up as soon as we can, finish as late as we possibly can. Those poor kids must have been dead on their feet after 2 weeks of doing that.
It's funny. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm one. So I have feet issues with I have to wear inserts on my shoes. And if I don't wear them, it destroys my Achilles. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Where I got so bad one time I was on a cane for a few days.
Wow.
Until it's my feet. People out there, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I go to things like these, like parks and everything, because I used to, growing up, I just wore Vans and Chucks. I wore the worst shoes you can wear.
Oh,
ever.
yes. The flattest things you can buy.
Yeah, the flattest thing. I went to Washington, D.C. in Chucks, and by day 3, I felt like a knife was going up my heel, right? So I love going to the parks, and I literally stretch in the mornings, have my shoes, Asics, all that stuff, good to go. Love shoe watching. I love seeing people
in high
wear
heels.
These terrible the heels.
Yep.
The girls in the heels, respect to you. Maybe take Kelly's advice. No one cares, but respect to you because you're going to be hurting later.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of the shoes that I see people wear to the parks, or even just sandals.
Sandals, flip-flops.
Flip-flops
blow me away too.
Flip-flops,
yeah. Her next tip says almost all of the merchandise found in the parks is also available in the Shop Universal website. So if experiences like Ollivanders aren't a major priority, shop before you go for things like interactive ones and t-shirts. That's a good idea. I've never thought about buying before you go. You will already have those things for your trip before you even set foot in the parks. Absolutely save some time for souvenir hunting, but that can also be done at the Universal store in City Walk after the parks close. Even the resorts have a lot of the park merchandise. That's good. So if you want your merch, either buy it before or buy it after. Don't waste your time in the parks.
If you're going to go to one store, probably the God, why can't I think of the name right now? Where it has universal products that are used.
Oh, the prop shop.
Prop shop.
Yes.
I was gonna say the vault.
Yeah.
Prop shop.
Yes, that's a
vault.
good point. Yeah.
That's like an attraction almost.
Yeah.
She also says, be prepared for the weather. I know it's been talked about on the podcast before. Florida may be the sunshine state, but it rains and storms, which it has done very recently. It looks horrendous. Some of the videos we've seen coming from mainly Disney, to be fair. Ha ha ha. It rains almost every afternoon for a good chunk of the year. A lot of people will either leave the park at this point or do an indoor ride and then loiter in the gift shop to avoid getting wet. If you're prepared to run from ride to ride, you can knock out a lot of indoor rides in a short span of time. Bring rain gear and a few plastic baggies to put in your phone and wallet in. That's a good tip. Don't be dumb if there is rampant lightning, but if it's just raining, make run for it. Being weather prepared extends to both the summer heat and the winter chill. Depending on where you're from, you might laugh at the winter chill phrase, but I live in the Midwest and swear the coldest I have ever been in my life was waiting for Cinematic Spectacular. One February was 40 degrees, humid, drizzling, and windy. Orlando is humid 365 days of the year, which makes the heat hotter and the cold colder. It's science. And I will vouch for that when we were over for Mardi Gras, because that Friday was horrendous. And I'm used to the cold.
Bad. Oh, yeah. It was the wind, man.
It must been. It was freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the humidity it really makes it so much colder. Because it was
strange,
12 it was 12 degrees when I returned 2 weeks ago, and when it's 40 in Florida, it seems so much more cold than here.
I don't know what 40 is. When people say 40 degrees, I'm like, that's boiling.
Oh, Fahrenheit, I'm sorry. 40 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
It's cold, man.
It's cold,
especially for a Floridian. That's freezing.
Oh, you're freezing, Chris. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anything under 70 is pretty cold.
So funny.
Right. Kelly goes on to say, if hitting as many attractions as possible is your goal, you might need to deprioritize things like food experiences. Eating something relatively healthy but light on your way to the parks, then grab an early lunch around 11 a.m. as soon as lunch places start to open. Attraction waits can go down during the standard meal times. You can then grab an early dinner around 4ish and beat the wait times at quick service places, and then have possibly lower ride waits during the dinner rush. Or if you want to save time and money, bring food into the parks for one or all your meals. Bring snacks too.
I mean, that's just grab and go. I think you'll probably find through a lot of these hints and tips. A sit-down meal when you're trying to get as much done in a theme park in a day is just don't even think about it. Grab a crepe, grab a sandwich, grab a churro, I don't know, whatever it is. But
I will say she also gives some really solid advice here. I mean, she didn't say this directly, but she is indirectly saying this, where avoid the main times, lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
Because even you're saying sit down service, even quick service can be an hour plus sometimes if you try to go grab lunch at 12, right?
Yep.
It's from 12 to like 1:30ish, it's a nightmare. Same thing for dinner times, right? 5 to 7, let's say. So here she's saying, go before, go to 11, go at 4, or if you can hold out, go in between the dinner and lunch, and then after for a late dinner. But that's definitely going to kill a lot of your time if you try to go during those peak eating hours.
For sure.
Definitely.
Yep.
And she also goes for heaven's steak. Now I'm hungry for dinner. For heaven's steak. Stay hydrated. Keep your whole party hydrated if you want to make it from park open to park close. Carry a water bottle for each person in your party. All food and beverage places will give out free cups of ice water you can refill your bottles with. Pre-COVID, you could also refill personal water bottles for free at the Coke Freestyle machines, but I'm not sure if that's still happening. You can start refilling again.
Yes.
At least
Katie, was it you told me that, didn't you, when you were looking through this? Yeah.
Yes.
It was a huge plus, because waiting in line again for a cup of water can also kill time.
Yeah.
And if you need to, make a rule for your family, such as taking several sips of water every time you enter a new ride queue. Pretty smart. The extra time you have to spend peeing won't compete with the time you will lose if someone gets dehydrated. This is a year-round tip, but especially in the summer.
Someone's never been to the parks with me. I have the bladder of a tiny baby, so if I'm drinking constantly throughout the day, I'm literally at the toilet like every 2 minutes.
I can understand that. She also goes, plan to do an indoor show at the hottest part of the day if you know you will need an indoor break. Plan that with your whole party so everyone knows there is something relatively restful coming. Ideally, I find it better to start at islands, walk to studios, do Bourne or horror makeup between 1 and 2 p.m., and then do the rest of studios till close. Which brings me to my final point. The Hogwarts Express is not always faster. I repeat, the Hogwarts Express is not always faster. The wait for the train can get upwards of 90 minutes during peak season, whereas it's about 15-minute walk from gate to gate. If you start at the back of your first park and make your way forwards, it will most likely be significantly faster to walk than to take Hogwarts Express. If the wait for the train is short, go for it. It's a cool experience, but I, for one, get frustrated about standing in slow loading lines when I have limited time.
Yep.
And the Hogwarts Express is a slow loader. So I would much rather walk for 15 minutes than wait 45 minutes for the train.
I would say the Hogwarts Express is never faster than walking.
Right.
It isn't, but you got to make that call here because if it's your first trip, the Hogwarts Express is kind of a must.
Yes,
it is. But if you again, this is where it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It comes down to have you been before and trying to get as much possible as you possibly can do in both parks in one day. Is that something you could sacrifice?
No, 100%. I'm going on the guise of it being the first trip.
Right.
I think the experience, even at 90 minutes, I think the experience of loading to a train station inside of a theme park, going from, one area to another and to the other theme park altogether. And it kind of would go in together with, if you're trying to plan out a day between both parks, that is part of the experience. It's getting from one park to the other, and you get to do this thing. So I don't know. I feel like this is like a must do for your first timer, and it's Potter. It's like half the reason why anybody who's never been to Universal goes to Universal. Right.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I would have even waited the 90 minutes the first time. Yeah, for sure.
For me, if I was like, right, I'm going to take all these tips and I'm going to go at the parks. Me being me, I wouldn't bother with the Hogwarts Express because I think just that time is better spent doing something else. But again, it comes down to have you done it a million times before or not?
Yeah. Right. I agree with you. We've skipped it before and just done the walk. I mean, plenty of times. It just depends on how bad it is. And I also want to repeat what she said earlier. Don't mess with Florida's sun.
No.
No. I don't care what you think hot is. I don't care where you're from. It's different. It could be hot where you're from. I get it. But this sun will take you out if you don't know how to handle it. So water.
Yeah. Next tips come from Craig Lucas, and he says, early park admission, which again, everyone said so far. He said, express the out of everything, of course, Craig, being as potty mouth as he is, and then back to the pool, eat some hot bar food and beer, and then back into the parks to close them out. I'm sorry, but if you're trying to get as much done in 2 parks in one day, sorry, Craig, but I ain't going back to the hotel in the middle of the day. Express, yes. Like, if you're wanting to do as much as possible, early park admission and express are like the 2 biggest tips you could give anybody, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
But then express passes, depending on when you go, express passes aren't necessarily going to save you that much time because they can be a bit of a...
But still, if you're going, if the whole premise of this, which it is one day as much as possible, I agree with you. You can get expresses on an extremely busy day, but it will still be shorter than waiting those regular lines.
Yeah, true. The 995-minute wait that Flight of the Hippogriff was last weekend. Apparently. I don't think it was, but it's fun to look at.
Yeah, when I was just there in February, the Express Pass did not... I mean, it certainly cut down my wait, but still, for some things, I was waiting maybe 25 minutes. Like, even to get into Gringotts, I think I waited that long, which I thought was shocking, but with an Express Pass.
Yeah, they can be...
But it's really crowded.
Yeah,
yeah.
But still good, still great.
Yeah, definitely worth having. Yeah,
definitely worth it. Yeah, for sure.
If you're staying on site and you're already getting that benefit rather than paying out of pocket for it, then for sure,
Way easier than Genie Plus.
Way easier. Way easier.
And some spray on that burn, Disney.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Chris Rook says, decide in advance your must-dos, your nice-to-dos, and you're not bothered. Only do it if you've got time. Try to stick to it. Get express passes. They'll be worth their weight in gold. Or even better, stay on site and get express passes and the early opening thrown in too.
Yep.
If you've got kids, make sure there's plenty of things for them to do during the day.
Oh, Chris,
However,
come on, hang on. Chris is a personal friend of ours. I thought, Chris, you've let me down. Because what you should have put was, if you've got kids, make sure that it's left at home. Oh, left at home. Yeah, that would make it much easier.
That sounds like something he would say.
Well, he does sort of go on. Listen, he says, however, probably best for this mission to be for the hardcore park visitors only. Sorry, kids, this is time to go hard or go home. Look at opening and closing times in advance and aim to finish at the park with the late closing.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, definitely. If you're wanting to do both legs of the Hogwarts Express, I'd probably start there too. Where possible, stay in a complete clockwise or anti-clockwise from your entry to the park to stop having to waste precious time having to double back.
That was mine and Tracy's biggest mistake the first time we came over. We were like, oh, I want to ride that now and that, and we'd be here, there, and everywhere. So we'd end up doing double the mileage just because we didn't sort of stick to any sort of linear plan.
Like ping pong.
Yeah, that's us.
I'd time my main sit-down meal to coincide with the transfer between the parks. But I'd also probably avoid anywhere too fancy, as this is really more about refueling than fine dining.
Yep.
Rest of the day is snacks and drinks on the go. So that's a theme here, which is good.
I mean, there's so many decent just grab and go options. You better, like, if you were in Ireland, just say, right, we're going to go and do Hagrid's at, say, 11 o'clock, grab some tater tots from Green Eggs and Ham and take them into the queue with you. You could kill time, like two birds with one stone. The options are there to grab something while you're in line for something else and do two things together.
Make sure you get a Pepto-Bismol shake as well. It's a recipe for disaster, man.
Tater tots and Hagrid.
Yeah.
Okay. Time is limited, so the chances to really appreciate all the details and explore are limited too. However, decide in advance which area of both parks are your key ones and allow yourself a little bit of extra time to explore those. Might seem like wasted minutes, but you'd kick yourself later if you didn't spend a little bit longer noseying around Hogsmeade, Seuss Landing, or Marvel Superhero Island, if that's your jam.
Yeah, for definite.
Yeah, that's so true. That said, photos are on the go. I'd only take my phone for pictures. No time for the posh kit and tripods today. Also, while I'm on kit, travel light. Don't waste precious time fannying about with lockers because you've brought a rucksack full of spare clothes, travel guides, and a small pharmacy.
Tracy's talking about you there.
It's really good. Phone and wallet. Everything else is just weighing you down.
Yep.
Don't do any or much shopping, and strictly no casual browsing. The post-ride gift shops will suck your time away, and there are shops on City Walk that are open after the parks close that will cover you for a lot of what you might want. However, if you do want something specific, organize it in advance and plan as part of your route. But straight in, pick it up, and straight out. Where possible, organize to get delivery to your hotel room or pick up at park exit. Oh, this is great. Don't spoil your plans by having to cart a life-size Shrek plushie for half the day. Don't forget to stay hydrated, cool, and sunblocked. Have fun and enjoy this challenge.
But yeah, the merch, like the shopping thing's ideal. You look, you've got the big store at the exit of Universal. So and I've just thought of a massive tip that nobody's got on here. Or you've got the huge store in City Walk now that you could probably pick up 90% of what you would want anyway. So there's no point in wasting your time in the stores in the park, for definite.
Yeah. All right. Richard Baker says, my tip would be to make use of single rider lines where available. Obviously not great if you must ride together, although we have used it as a group of 4 on rides we have done lots of times before, and no one wanted to sit next to my other half due to her screams. And this,
on the carousel.
And this was on the carousel. I feel you. The single rider lines that can be found at Universal Studios Florida are Harry Potter and Escape from Gringotts, Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, Men in Black Alien Attack, Revenge of the Mummy, Transformers The Ride 3D, and the single rider lines in Islands are The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, Doctor Doom's Fearfall, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, The Incredible Hulk coaster.
Yeah, single ride lines can save you a massive amount of time.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like they have these on, rides that actually matter as well.
Yes, yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, not just the the ones that you don't need them on. They are.
That's right.
I take it Velocicoaster doesn't have one.
Man, I want to say they do. I'm trying to think because you're only two people next to each other, but I feel like I've seen a single rider line there. Could just be. No, probably not.
Yes, they do.
They do? Okay.
Yes.
But I feel like that one would take a while to go through because it's only two people sitting side by side. So most of your people are going to be in the regular line unless they have like one oddball for three.
Yeah. I think I've only ever used single ride line. Like say we did it on Hagrid's and then I've done it on Rip Ride Rocket not long after it first opened with me and our oldest. And we still queued for 45 minutes to get on it. Crazy.
I always think about it in Forbidden Journey, too, because you actually cannot see the person next to you anyway.
Yeah, so it's not irrelevant.
Like yeah. So single riders.
Yeah. It doesn't, for that one, it literally doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes no difference who you sat next to. Next up, we've got Austin Cleary said, is number one tip, if possible, come early and stay late. I mean, that kind of makes sense. It makes for some tired people and some sore feet, but so worth it. Being you're there early, chances are you get hungry earlier. Snack or eat lunch earlier, and around lunchtime, lines should be shorter. Though not a necessity, unlimited express pass offered through the Premier hotels is a must. Hang on, how can it be? It's not a necessity, but it's a must. I thought the same thing. Sorry, Austin, I can't not give you some flack for that, but it isn't a necessity, but it is a must. I get what you're saying.
Right.
It allows you to seamlessly breathe through the attractions repeatedly. I mean, they're two pretty basic ones, but I think the way I did this, I could have kind of pared them down so we had all different tips, but I thought I'll leave everyone's tips in there and then we'll get through and you'll start to hear those repeated tips that are obviously the ones that you need to pay attention to.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
That's true.
All right. Adam Phillips tells us there are a couple of suggestions meant really for someone who has never been to the parks. If a person is going to the parks and only has one day to do both parks, they should go in with the understanding that they are not going to be able to experience all of the hidden gems, shows, street performances, character encounters, shopping, etc., that they might want out of a full Universal trip.
Yeah, that's not a bad tip, actually. Go in knowing that you're not going to get to see what Universal Orlando is about. Set
your expectations.
Yep.
All right. My advice, keep travel through the park as simple as possible. Use the shortcut through Seuss Landing to the left of Green Eggs and Ham, unless that person has kids or else really wants to experience Seuss Landing.
Chasing.
Stay ahead of the crowds. Okay. Unless a person has early park entry, I would avoid Hagrid's motorbike first thing in the morning. Go straight to Forbidden Journey at Park Open, or perhaps Revenge of the Mummy, or Rip Ride Rocket if starting in Universal Studios, to check one big ride off that early list.
Yes. Yeah, it's tough to know what to do first thing. Because if you're tackling the ones that are going to have the biggest waits throughout the day and trying to do them early, then you're going further into the park as a rule and forsaking stuff.
I think the premise that we're learning here is don't go for one day.
Yeah.
I think
we're learning that. And I think by the end of this show, everybody's going to realize go for at least 2 days. At least 2 days.
Right, because we're all saying if you're going to do that, you have to have express pass. There's no question about it. And people, and you want to perhaps stay at the Premier Hotel as well, so it's not just a day. A single day.
And even Adam saying you're not going to get through everything.
Right,
you're not going to get that full experience. So
that's right.
Keep that in mind.
Just be ready for it. Right. So he goes on to say that throughout the day, stay focused on the rides and attractions. Leave the shopping for later in the day at the front of the parks.
Yep.
Most souvenirs can be purchased at the Trading Company, Universal Store across from Today Cafe, or at shops in City Walk after the parks close.
Definitely.
Eat at odd times, lunch at 2, dinner at 7, and go for the walk-up food carts. The quick service places like Krusty's, Burger Digs get so congested at lunch.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. Three Broomsticks is an okay option because they have a massive amount of seating and seem to have a quick throughput of service. Convisco Grill might be one of your easiest in-and-out sit-downs in the park for dinner because a lot of people are going to watch the Lagoon show in Universal at that time.
Okay.
It's true. Yeah. And I love it. I love Convisco Grill. Don't forget about virtual lines. In the past, the virtual lines for Mummy and Race to New York have been really fast and easy, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that's just going back to what you said before, Lee, and obviously Adam says it here again. I think that is a smart idea, just to not do any shopping throughout the day.
Yeah.
Because you really can buy 90% of the things you can in the parks, or at least the most popular items that you most likely would buy after the park is closed.
Yeah.
So you can't do any more park, then go spend the hours you want inside of the Universal store, which is massive and has everything. I think that's a really good tip.
Like, gone are the days now when the Wizarding World first opened that was the only place you could buy Harry Potter merchandise. Now it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah. It's in your hotels.
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie goes, some of my go-to things are making sure to go on a day there is early park admission and the parks are open way later, like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
That's a big, long day, by the way.
That's a great day right there. Bringing some snacks in case you don't want to buy park food. Saves you a lot of money for merch.
Yep.
Plan the rides you for sure want to ride before you get there, so you're not bumping back and forth like Lee and Tracy did, and wasting time walking instead of riding.
Right.
Best time we like to go is January. Cooler weather and less crowds. It makes it easier to do all the things you want to do.
Yep.
Absolutely. Ride single rider for anything that's available.
Yep.
Wait times are usually much shorter, or even walk on.
Natalie's just taken all the tips all the most popular tips that we've had so far and put them into one condensed list for us.
TLDR right here.
Yeah.
Research merch ahead of time. Go in with a plan and familiarize yourself with the stores the items are located in. Also familiarize yourself with the food. Learn the locations that have foods you can eat, like if you're a vegan or vegetarian. Don't eat at peak hours. Try to go for a later lunch or earlier dinner because lunch is packed. Get a crepe and warm butterbeer.
That is literally the best tip I have heard anyone give so far. Get a crepe
and butterbeer?
And a warm butterbeer. I'm like,
and the warm butterbeer.
Yes.
In January.
Yes. Any time of the year. I don't care when it is.
Clip.
Yes.
The crepe, maybe the only time consumer there, but yeah.
Well,
yeah,
yes, that's a good point, actually, because they do take some time to make, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, well worth it, but if you're on a time schedule or a time limit, you may have to skip the crepe.
I would say the same for green eggs and ham as well then.
Yeah. Butterbeer, no, you got to get a butterbeer when you're there.
Got to get a butterbeer.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. You can't buy that anywhere else for the most part, but yeah.
All right, so Brooke Warner says, research the park hours beforehand. Sometimes islands and studios open and close at different times. This may determine where you start and end for the day.
That's a good tip.
Also, this is really good. Also, I've been burned before where park hours randomly dropped down for a few days while I was there due to an after hours event, and we didn't plan our day to leave the park at 5. It's better to know before.
Let's not talk about that.
I won't, but hate that when that happens.
Oh. Similarly, figure out which rides are your must rides and which you can skip if the lines are too long. Especially important if you don't have a fast pass. Express pass.
Oh,
yeah. Oh,
Brooke.
Riding everything would be hard to do in a single day, but if you have a plan for your must rides, you can prioritize those instead of wandering around and potentially wasting queue time on attractions you are less excited about.
Yep.
Take advantage of early park admission if it's available to you. This is a great way to knock out some of the most popular rides in the park before lines get crazy. Even if EPA is not available, still try to get to the gate, not outside of City Walk, but the actual gate at the park, a little before opening. Sometimes they will start letting guests in early.
Yeah. Again, like Seth said last week, he got in at 7:45.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, just to piggyback off of early park admission, now that we're just talking about it again, and I think it was Kelly that alluded to this, but early park admission is also, aside from just getting in early and being able to ride, our weather in Florida, it rains every single afternoon. It is almost guaranteed to rain, which means some rides are not going to be available. So normally in the mornings, it won't rain. So that may be another good tip there, is to, when you do your early park admission, focus on some of those outdoor rides that may close in the afternoon.
That's a good point.
Or if it's like
That's
a long
really
rainstorm, yeah, try to knock those out. Your Velocicoasters, your Hagrids, that kind of stuff, to make sure that you do get that in on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yep. Cool. All right. Brooke also tells us, pack a refillable water bottle. I've saved probably $1,000 on water alone by doing this. It's very true. It's like $8 a bottle, I think.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. You can refill any cup with water at the freestyle locations. Plus, Florida is hot, and you need to drink more than you normally would, especially if alcohol is involved. Absolutely.
Chris.
Absolutely. It saves you from purchasing bottles of water or getting those tiny cups for free at the quick service locations. Also saves you from being dehydrated and passing out. Now, my go-to is always starting in studios. Come on an empty stomach and swing through the Today Cafe for breakfast. This is an awesome way to start the day. And as a group, if you're with a group,
of course,
you can start planning how you will move through the park to win the day, to include what everyone wants to do. I won't recommend a path here, but I would say take it easy. Plan out any food options you want to try so you are around that area by the time you're hungry again. My go-to lunch is grabbing a Duff beer and a crepe, and is sitting by the lagoon. You can't beat it.
You see, there you go. You're trying to do 2 parks in one day, and she uses the word sitting by the lagoon. No, you should be walking somewhere. Like, use that
feel
time.
for her. I feel for her because what she just described is so nice.
It is.
It is such a great thing to do. But yes, you can't do this if it's your only day doing it.
No.
Right.
You're going to have to chug your Duff beer and your crepe while in a single rider line somewhere.
You're dunking your crepe into the
In
Duff.
the beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, another point on food is sit-down restaurants can be awesome to take a midday break. Can't do that. But plan to spend more than an hour there.
What? No.
Right.
If this will take too much time, opt for quick service. One time we had a reservation at 2:30 at Mythos, and we didn't leave until 4. Park closed at 5 that day.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a no-no right there.
Yeah.
As awesome as that would be, can't do that.
Yeah.
No.
She continues on by saying, save the shows for the hottest part of the day. That seems to be quite a big tip for a lot of people. For me, this means lunch. After I eat, I swing through one or all horror makeup, Born, and animal actors. Everyone is normally rushing to food, and it's a good time to relax and cool off. I like the live shows because although they are scripted, it's never the same show twice. Very good point. Take the train. You have to take the train. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of contradicts my thoughts.
It contradicts the time, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think it just comes down to you've got to look at what the wait time for it is more than anything. Plan for a roller coaster after dark. My favourite here is Hagrid's, but all coasters are just completely different experience after dark. If you are a thrill seeker and you don't care about fireworks shows, then get on Doom right at park close. The view of the park while the fireworks castle show are going off is incredible. That is a great idea. I've never considered that. When shopping, try to avoid buying anything. When shopping, try not to avoid buying anything bulky that you'd have to carry around. That was a slip on purpose, by the way, for anyone who missed it. Around the rest of the day. If you find something you have to have, see if they carry it at the City Walk stores or if you can send it to the front of the park and can grab it on your way out. I wonder if there's something specific in the shops you can ask, like a team member, can I get this in City Walk?
Oh, yeah.
That's a great question.
Smart.
Yeah. Something I want to do but haven't yet is ask for tours. Maybe we should do an episode on which attractions have queue tours. I think we already have.
Yeah.
I think we did it a long time ago. This is a way to add new experience to a ride you may have already been on. Plus, I love seeing the TM's excitement and passion for the attraction. That's all I got. I just got back from a 72-hour whirlwind trip. It was the best.
Ooh.
Cool.
Oof. It's like me. I take short trips. My trips are always short. So I don't have flexibility. So I Sneak them in when I can.
And do your best, don't you?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. I come home and I'm exhausted, but it's good fun.
You need the vacation from the vacation.
Exactly.
I do, yeah. I sure do.
Who the hell's this next one from? It's about 6 pages long.
Who's this windbag? My number one tip would be to do as much research as you can about the exact time you're planning to travel. See if there are any special events such as festivals, races, etc. Pore over crowd calendars, but just realize they are estimates and have no way of seeing the future. Once you've settled on your time to visit, I think you might really want to consider booking a night at one of the top 3 hotels at Universal: Royal Pacific, Hard Rock, and Portofino Bay. Everyone in the room will get an unlimited express pass that is usable for 2 days, even if you're only staying for 1. If the parks are crowded, you'll be very happy to have those passes.
Yep.
Now to the cost of the hotels. The prices for all of the on-site hotels has been unprecedentedly high, most likely a supply and demand issue. So another tip I have is that if even only one person in your party buys the lowest level, lowest cost annual pass, which is the seasonal pass, you can get the annual pass holder rate for hotel rooms. They typically allow you to activate your pass at the parks and show the pass at the hotel after your day, but it's best to double check this with guest services. You keep looking on the Universal site for the annual pass rates to come out, but oftentimes they start to show up about 3 months before your time of stay. Don't wait, keep looking for the rates to show up. You could book the best rate you see for the hotels and then just keep waiting. If a better rate shows up, cancel the first one and take the lower rate.
Yeah.
I should mention that the seasonal pass rate in September was about $25 more expensive than a 3-day park-to-park ticket. So that is something to consider for your budget. If one person feels they would visit again within a year with a longer stay, the seasonal pass is a great deal, as long as you check your blackout dates.
I will have Michelle's back again. Michelle would say, if you have a travel agent, they can keep an eye out for those annual pass holder rates on those hotel rooms for you.
That's true. I never thought. I actually didn't think of that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yep. Yeah. I've got your back, girl. I know she won't be listening, so she doesn't care.
Yeah, it's falling on dead ears right now. Maybe this will get her to listen.
She won't.
Now that brings us to party size. If it is just 1 or 2 travelers, you could skip the hotel idea and you could look at express pass rates for the date that you'll be at the parks. If the cost of the passes is less than booking an on-site premier hotel room, then you should consider that. Be mindful of the fact that there are one-time per ride use passes, and then there are unlimited passes. At the hotels, you get the unlimited use and can go on any ride as many times as you'd like. You can also buy passes ahead of time on the Universal website. If you decide that you definitely want to buy passes instead of booking a hotel room, it is advisable to do it sooner than later. A little fact I learned the hard way was the price of the passes go up continually as you approach the date of visit. If you decide you want to go to the parks and purchase a park-to-park ticket only without any express passes, definitely purchase the tickets online at the Universal site. Not only do you save 20% over gate prices, but you save a lot of time as lines to buy tickets at the gates can be long and very frustrating. I always find it weird that people still go and buy tickets at the gate.
I agree completely.
Like, I've had passes for years, but I would never in a million years wait at a gate.
No.
Right.
Ever. And it's not like older people. It's like every age. So everybody has a phone.
It's very strange.
Everybody can do it instantly. It's just always weird to me.
Yeah, it is odd.
Still long lines for it. I see it all the time.
Huge lines. Yeah, huge lines. It's crazy. One last thing. If you stay at any of the on-site hotels from Endless Summer all the way to Portofino Bay, you will be able to gain entrance into the parks 1 hour before the general public. It is usually only at one of the parks and will be posted for each day on the Universal site. I believe there are some partner hotels that also have this perk. You can check into those hotels as their rates may be much cheaper. I'm not trying to push the premier hotels, but if you stay at one of those, you save yourself time by having your own dedicated security line. The security area behind City Walk can become very crowded. I would say for one-day visit, it's all about saving time and trying to be aware, as best you can, of crowd levels typical on your day of visit. It's a great resort with world-class attractions. Anything you do will be memorable.
I'm just looking at the unlimited express pass prices. They're hilarious, by the way, because according to the website, they start for Universal Studios Florida from $109.99. And I'm like, that's not bad. It's only $40 more expensive than the other one. So then I clicked select,
Forget
and it takes me to, so next Monday, a unlimited express pass for Universal Studios Florida, bearing in mind they start from a $109.99, is $329.99. Wow.
For one person. One person.
For one day is wow.
That's the spring break premium, my friend.
Whew. Yeah, no.
And people sometimes don't realize that does not include your entrance to the park.
Yes. Yeah.
That's in addition.
Yeah.
Can you do half days on a regular day as well? Or is that only horror nights?
Half day admission.
Express pass.
I think it's just a
I
horror
haven't
nights
seen
thing.
that. No,
I think
not
it's
on the
just a
site
horror
at
nights
any rate.
thing. Like it's like the RIP tours for horror nights. A lot of people don't realize that doesn't include your admission in either. And you think when it's $3,500, it should do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, sometimes I think if you're in the park and as the day is wearing on, if they haven't sold out, I think then the prices might drop.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you're thinking about.
Well,
Maybe.
they've done that during horror nights. I know that for sure. So I'm just curious if, they do something like that just for a regular express pass. Maybe
they may well.
Yeah, maybe you don't have enough for a full express, but they have nice little deal on it.
Yeah, if you wait
Might
them
be an
out.
option. Yep.
See, here's one that if you've got, so you might be an annual pass holder, you might have a premier annual pass going for 2 parks in one day, and you get your express pass after 4.
That's
true.
Yeah, I never considered that.
I'm not in that 1% though.
No, me either.
I have a power pass.
I think I've got the preferred.
You got to stay at Portofino as well to
be the
really
1%,
get that
yeah.
1%.
To really-
Yeah.
You need the Michelle
1%.
Bulmer, the Michelle Bulmer suite. That's the one that gets you those perks.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's where the CEO has to ask her to see if he can use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I like her when she's not here. I can rib on her even more.
Well, let's see what Jillian Dunn's suggestions are. Jillian says, I feel like mine are super obvious, but here you are. Stay on site at a top-tier resort to get express and early park entry. That way, you'll be able to knock out some of the biggest attractions early in the day. Whichever park you're in to start, go to the Harry Potter section and clear that out first before they fill up. Then go to the back of the park and work your way up to the front.
It's a good tip, actually.
Yeah. Try to avoid going back and forth between the parks, as that will eat up valuable time.
Yep.
Pack snacks and mobile order meals, then eat them in a long line rather than sitting down.
Yep.
That's a
The
repeating theme.
mobile
That's a
order
great
one is a good one, though, actually. It's not something that anybody's mentioned so far. If you want to get something like that mobile ordering, I know it can be a bit of a show at times, but it definitely could potentially work in your advantage.
It sure could. If you're heading that way,
Yeah.
mobile ahead of time, yeah. Eat off schedule to avoid typical mealtime crowds and plan to have a nice sit-down meal and city walk after park close.
There's another good one. You can still have your sit-down meal, just wait until afterwards.
That's right. Pay attention to park hours and know which park, usually studios, is closing early that day and plan to finish that park first.
Is that true? Do studios usually close before islands? I always thought it was the other way
It
around.
was a toss-up for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I never know. Yeah, I think it's sort of 6 and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And plan to finish that park first, whichever's closing earliest. If there's time and you're interested, plan to save shows and non-line attractions for early afternoon when it's peak crowds and heat. Utilize single rider line for 3+ seat attractions.
Yeah.
See, that's that
Yeah.
idea again. Avoid it for 2-seater attractions, as you'll usually wait long, if not longer, than the main queues.
Yep.
Unless they've just opened the line and it's got hardly any people in it, like Rip Ride Rocket, Hagrid, Velocicoaster.
Yeah, like we did when we rode Hagrid's.
That's what you did,
Yeah.
Lee. That's what you're saying,
Yeah, that's
right?
exactly what happened.
Yeah, when they've just opened it. It's got hardly any people in it. Doesn't hurt to ask a team member for help with a particularly long line. The worst they can say is no, right? I don't know what that would be. Am I missing that? What help you would ask them for? A team member?
Just, if you're friendly with people, you never know. Hey, any
I
chance
guess you
of...
say, hey, I can't take it.
anybody...
I can't take it. Can you help me?
I like a final tip's the best one.
Yeah, I think this is the best tip.
Just run?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
So
I mean,
Jillian to say that.
It is, but it's true. It would save a lot of time. Like, don't be walking, get running.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's true.
That is a good one.
Get the stroller with the big wheels and just push really hard.
Our good friends over at the theme park duo chip in next. Gabe says, how did I miss this? We actually did this on our first ever visit to the park. So here is his tips. Get express. I cannot express how helpful this was in getting everything done that we wanted to do. Plan ahead, know what you want to ride and what you don't want to ride. Don't be afraid to make adjustments to your plan. If a line is long, come back to it later after having knocked off other things in your list. That is a good tip, because if like a lot of the tips that we've given to people so far is make a plan, know what you want to do, and there's nothing worse than coming to an attraction that ends up having a massive long line. You think, I don't want to wait in this, to then having to adjust everything, not expecting it. So yeah, be prepared for that. Know where you want to eat. This can dramatically help fit in so much stuff, because if you plan ahead based on where you want to eat, you can schedule rides around that area too. And be okay with the idea that you won't hit everything. And I think that's one of the biggest tips, to be fair.
Right.
Yep.
So you're not disappointed.
This next tip, I really wish Michelle was here.
Oh, yes.
But this next tip comes in from Jeff Royds. He says, simple, VIP tour, hashtag mic drop, hashtag 1%er. I mean, he's not wrong here.
Well, Kurt Gumbar has some recommendations, and he says, when going from park to park, sometimes Hogwarts Express is not the fastest way to get between the parks due to the wait and where you are in the parks. Make sure to use the Universal app, there's a tip, and look at the wait times. Even if you have express passes, it's sometimes faster to use the main gates. If the wait for Hogwarts Express is 60 minutes or more, it may still be a 20-minute wait with express passes. In Islands of Adventure, if you are on Superhero Island, Toon Lagoon, or Dr. Seuss, and there is a big wait for Hogwarts Express, it might be much faster to hoof it between the parks instead, unless your goal is the Diagon Alley area. In Studios, if you are near Minions and Rip Ride Rocket, it can also be faster to walk between the main gates. However, you should make sure to do the Hogwarts Express in each direction at least once. There we have it. Take care of your feet. No flip-flops.
Nope.
No flip-flops. In addition, a tip from a friend who is a travel reporter and specializes in amusement parks says to, and I had never heard of this, use a chafing stick.
I have.
Yeah? Like Gold Bond friction defense on your feet before putting on your socks. The longer your feet will last, the more you'll enjoy your day. I've never heard of that.
A lot of people tend to use it for people with larger thighs.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Right? It makes sense.
To stop a bit of rubbing there when you're...
Right. But it doesn't make your feet slip around in your socks.
I have no idea. I've never used it for anything, to be fair.
Well, it's a tip to try for sure.
If someone wants to try it on our behalf, feel free and let us know how you get on.
We'll even pay for the chafing stick.
I don't know about that much, but Judson Whitfield comes in next with quite a few. Actually, we've probably heard most of these, but again, it's just reiterating those tips you really need to pay attention to. So stay on site at a hotel to gain access to early park admission. This hour is crucial in getting the most from your time and money. Set your priorities, know what you will and won't do. If Harry Potter stuff is your number one priority, get it done early. My rule of thumb is to get there a full hour before the park opens. This includes EPA. If EPA starts at 8, get there at 7. If you get the Potter attractions done early in the day, the world is your oyster. I think this is the difficult thing, isn't it? Because the longer the parks are open, so the more time that you have to be in the parks generally means the busier the parks are going to be.
Yes.
So it's kind of, you've got to look, you want an average sort of crowd day, because if the park hours are low, then it's going to be quiet, but you obviously haven't got as much time. If the park hours are longer, then you know you've got more time, but the lines and the crowds are going to be busier.
Absolutely.
If you get the Potter attractions done early in the day, the world is your oyster. The first hour and a half and the last hour and a half are crucial to getting through attractions. Do not get food during this time. Do not stop and shop during this time. Book it from attraction to attraction based on your priorities. The shop lines will rarely get long, and you can use the next tip to avoid bad food lines. Eat your meals during off times. Eat lunch at 11 or after 2 and dinner at 4 to 4:30 or after 7. To note, certain restaurants like Mel's open at 10 for even earlier lunch option. There you go. Or just don't eat at all.
How'd that work out for you, Lee?
I mean, to be fair, The last time I went and barely had anything to eat, we left Halloween Horror Nights at 9:30. So yeah, it didn't work too well.
Yeah. He also goes on to say, don't be afraid to eat a sit-down meal if you can get seated quickly. Look online to make reservations for your trips, or if that doesn't work, check times for walk-ups. Oftentimes, table service restaurants have similar or faster times while being similar in price and providing some time to sit and rest your feet. Suggestions here would be Confisco Grill, Lombard Seafood, and obviously Mythos inside of the park. Number 6, unless it's a very short wait time or it's on your must-do list, the Hogwarts Express will often take more time than walking. I would not recommend waiting more than 10 to 15 minutes for this if you're trying to maximize ride time.
That's the perfect tip. The perfect tip. Don't wait longer than 15 minutes for it.
You just don't want anybody to ride this ride, Lee.
I just think it's time utilized elsewhere if you are trying to get the most from a one-day trip.
If you're using it as a transportation method, absolutely.
Right.
I'm still going to stay on this hill.
Yeah, if you want to use it as an attraction, then yes, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So if it's factored into your attractions list of must-dos, then effectively it's killing two birds with one stone, so then it's fine.
Yeah. Do it in that first hour and a half, like you said. All right. Plan some time in the middle of the day to see some shows. The attraction lines from 1 to 4-ish are significantly longer than the rest of the day. See the Bourne Stuntacular, the horror makeup show, etc. Use it as an opportunity to make another ride rush after the crowds start to dissipate in the evening hours. This is also a great time to do some souvenir shopping if that's your jam.
Also, thinking about if you note down the times of the shows, could be a good time like other times to hit rides, because if you could time it where Bourne and Animal Actors and Horror Makeup kind of crossed over where they've all got shows going on potentially at the same time, the lines elsewhere would be less.
Oh, that's really something. Yeah.
I wonder if that same thought process works for, like, let's say Diagon Alley. If they're doing one of the Celestina Warbeck shows, do you think that would eat the crowd more and you'd probably go ride the ride at that time?
Potentially.
Yeah, that's...
Somebody tell us. Let us know. All right. Make sure to stay hydrated and fed. Whether this looks like you taking your own water or buying water bottles, which is pricey, or asking for water cups around the parks, not taking care of yourself will ruin your day. I've done every major attraction at both parks multiple times with these general strategies that aren't too difficult. Once you start to get into wait time guessing and attempting to predict crowd flow throughout the day, that becomes much less reliable and, in my opinion, will get in the way of having the best time possible.
Quite possibly.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, I agree.
Alexa Lodiero says...
Who's that? Who's Alexa Lodiero?
No idea who she is.
Oh, I was wondering. That's your other half.
My better half.
Your better half. Oh, did I say her last name correctly?
Loredo. It can sound like 1,000 different ways, but yeah, you got it pretty close.
I was close.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. First, make sure you buy the park hopper and get there early. If you're on property, absolutely utilize the early park hours. Download the Universal app to keep track of the times and get good shoes so you can run.
There you go, run.
She knows.
She knows. Bring your own snacks so you can munch throughout the day and buy the unlimited cup. Yes, it's worth it if you like soda and drinks.
That's a good idea.
Water is free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Water is free. Just ask. Oh, and make sure you put yourself on the list for Hagrid's and Mummy. Yep, for those virtual lines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We always like to start at Universal and swing a right so we hit up E.T. and Men in Black. This way, you walk into Diagon Alley, and if you have time to wait a little bit, absolutely do Escape from Gringotts. Before getting on the train, make sure to get a bit to eat so you can sit and eat while you're riding.
Perfect, even better.
Good tip.
Yes,
Yep.
Again,
So if you're potentially
better than standing.
Yeah, if Hogwarts Express is one of your attractions, you could technically hit an attraction, get to the other park, and eat all at the same time.
That's actually one of the best tips we've had.
Really
it really
is
covering so much territory.
Yeah.
I don't like the mobile dining. It feels like it's always longer. Land in Islands and bust a right to Hagrid's and Forbidden Journey, then make your way to Velocicoaster. This way, even if you're short on time, you ride the best rides, in my opinion. Make your way back to the front of Islands, hop on Spider and ride Hulk. If you still have time, walk back into Universal and go straight to hit Rip Ride Rocket and Transformers. And boom, you're done.
I could hear Alexa say that as well.
I just literally, she's just naming all the rides that she wants to do.
Yeah.
She's naming all the coasters. No, it's a great route. You've done it.
Yeah.
So before this is that we're literally on the last bit here finally. So one thing I wanted to drop in here, and it's a tip I've said for a long time, and it goes not even just for trying to hit everything in one day, but just for general. If the park closes at 8:00, it means the lines close at 8:00. So you could still join. So basically, you find the attraction in whichever park you're closing out that has the longest line, and hit that just before park close, and then still get however long that line is and ride the attraction.
That's a really good point. That's your nightcap.
So, for example, when we came over in February for Mardi Gras, Tracy and Jade and I met up with Andy and Thomas and Lynette and their friend, and we rode Hagrid's. And I want to say park closed that night was 9. We set foot off Hagrid's at something like 10:10. So there was nobody in Hogsmeade at that time. So we virtually had the entire of Hogsmeade to ourselves. We got to ride Hagrid's in the dark. So you're effectively getting an extra hour in the park at that point. I do feel sorry for the poor team members that have got to deal with it. But that is something to take into consideration, that you could still join a line just before park close and get potentially an extra half an hour or so in there.
Now, just a caveat off that, because this has happened to us before. I don't know if that is applicable on every single ride.
Okay.
Because we have tried, and not Hagrid's, maybe the bigger rides, yes. But I know one time recently, like we were trying to leave going through Seuss Landing, and we were going to jump on the trolley basically, and it was still like maybe I want to say 10 minutes, 15 minutes prior to closing, or maybe it was 10. It was really close, but they basically were saying it was closed.
Okay.
So I'm only saying that is because if, let's say, Velocicoaster was like your goat, that's the one you have to ride, and you waited till the last second because, you know, of whatever reason, I get to ride this because, and then they're like, nope, you got to come here at least half hour before, because they have done that before. Just be cautious about that. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, but it's an option to think about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a really good option. If it works, then you get an additional. It's like getting an extra hour in the park,
basically.
Yeah.
And then, especially in Hogsmeade, so beautiful.
And that's the thing that you're coming off. We came off that ride, and as I say, it's rare you get Hogsmeade to yourself.
Or
and like, you get the light packages that night.
Or do something like we've closed out Forbidden Journey before, where we've like hopped in last thing and come out, and because we were literally the last people on it, you walk out into Hogsmeade, and the only people that are in there are like team members. And it's you and Hogsmeade, and it's such a magical place with nobody in it.
With no lights. Beautiful. Yeah. I'll just jump in for a second. When I was there in September with my daughter and some good friends, we ended up in the elevator in Gringotts. We were the only ones in the elevator. Cool. It was really incredible. Yeah, it was something else. Yeah. And and the ride cart as well. I mean, we were like the last people in, and so we were the only ones on our ride cart.
Cool.
It's very cool.
Because, like, again, like, you could always be, like, just close a ride out. It's such a good feeling. Because you don't have to. You can obviously let, like, we did it in Forbidden Journey. Just let people go past it. No, it's fine. You can go. And wait until no one else is coming. And then we literally were the last people on that ride. It's so cool.
So cool.
And then finally, hopefully, using our tips, you've managed to get everything. Yeah, I didn't expect this to go as long as it did, but I think it's, like you said, like we said at the beginning, and we've said all the way through it, yes, this is a show aimed at tackling 2 parks in one day, but I think there's a lot of tips in here that people can use just going generally for sure, just general theme park tips, really.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, you've managed to get everything you want to done in both parks in one day, but don't forget, just because the parks are closed doesn't mean you are finished. City Walk potentially is open for another 2 or 3 hours after that. So you might be knackered and you might just want to go home and fall asleep. But that's when you grab your sit-down meal. You go and do a cowfish or a big fire or an antijitos or something. I mean, you can literally get on your phone while you're leaving the park and book your sit-down meal there, or just grab a voodoo donut and a drink and go and sit on the steps, or if you've still got the energy, go and do some karaoke at Rising Starts, usually where you'll find Chris and Alexa.
Yes, I was going to say, this is literally like 50% of the trip is the parks, and the other 50 is the nighttime entertainment.
You know, grab yourself a seat outside the Lone Palm, get some drinks, go and do some mini golf. The mini golf is awesome at night as well. It's the best time to do it. There's still so much to do at Universal Orlando once the parks are closed. Then you can go and die in your hotel room, because let's be honest, you probably will.
Yeah, you put on your little leg vibrators.
Yeah, that's Michelle, isn't it? Some really good tips there. I think, like I say, not just for necessarily trying to bang everything out in one day, just in general, to get the most out of a trip.
No, this is, I mean, I find it really useful, especially when episodes like these, you know, when I used to listen to a long time ago, I would literally just write a list and just take personal notes. So when we would go back to the park, hey, use this. So hopefully this helps out some people.
Yeah, it's too easy sometimes that people think, I go to the parks all the time, I know all there is to know. And it's like, oh, I learned something new there. Like I've been podcasting about Universal Orlando for coming up on 11 years, and I am still learning new things. I worried about our Cabana Bay episode the other week, because I'm like, most of our listeners are seasoned veterans at this point. They probably know all about the hotels, but I've had a couple of messages going, oh, we're staying at Dockside this year. Really enjoyed the episode. It really helped plan for our trip. And it's like, even if they help one person, then it's worth it. And then, let's be honest, it's just the banter for the rest of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think in listening, I just, as someone from the, listening, really just a listener, I get so much critical information, but from this podcast, I also get like the little magical things that you don't know, that you just don't realize. And I learn it from you guys. And then I go and make sure I see these things. And it's wonderful. Every time I go, I find something else.
Because Universal is full of new things to find out. You could have been going forever, and you can still always find something new. That's what I love about the parks.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this show. It's a pretty hefty show.
It was.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Now, we're going to wrap this up with another Universal Is. And this one's going to come from our guest, Katie. But, of course, if you would like to get involved, just let us know what you think Universal is in 3 words or less, and send them to podcast@uuopodcast.com, or send them on social media. But for now, Katie, it's over to you.
Universal is pure magic.
See you next time.
That was another episode of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, the best and only podcast about Universal Orlando on the island. Check us out on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. For all the podcasts, news, and articles, check out our blog at uuopodcast.com. Send us your questions, comments, and listener debate submissions to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Join the Producers Club by emailing us at uuopproducers@gmail.com. Listen and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, for all your other theme park news, and use our awesome sponsors, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company, to book your next trip. So until next time, this is Amity 6. Call off the Marines. We're coming home.